We are online now. So welcome. This is the regular meeting of the RFM project at Agile Ventures. And the agenda is to record the working environment. And I will set up a timer in order to keep it short, and I will set the timer to 20 minutes. Starting from now.
Let's do it.
Awesome. So, in order to get the working environment, all you need to have is to have Node.js and Ruby. What operating system are you on, Federico?
So I am on Mac, and so we can try it right there. I also had the idea that perhaps we might try to set up a C9 quickly, but only if we have time.
We can do that. Unfortunately, I think I tried it once on Cloud9.
Yeah.
I can't quite remember, but I got stuck at some point. I think it was because of an outdated Postgres version.
Yes. In one of the let's see, I think one of the Elixir scrums mobs. I mean, we did have to update to I think 9.6 because I think it's like 9.2 maybe.
Yeah, so we are using 9.6 as far as I can tell, and we depend on that version because we are using certain features of the database, which are only available at least 9.4, I think.
Okay. Yeah, so perhaps we might not do that, but definitely on the Mac. I'm on a Mac, so we can try that.
Yeah, but maybe we can already start with that. Can you tell me your Postgres version?
9.6.
9.6, then we are safe.
Yeah.
That's awesome, because I think that's something that regularly gives some headache.
Yeah.
When more people are on Mac. For some reason, I don't know. So I'm using Linux, and I always appreciate when people open issues or at least tell me somehow that they got stuck during the installation, because I'm using Arch Linux, which is rolling releases, and I always have the latest version of pretty much everything.
Okay.
So I never face that problem of having outdated dependencies.
Yeah.
So if do you have the repository already? Shall I send you a link maybe?
Yeah, if you like. So
there we go. Already there.
Would it be this one?
Yeah, I will click on your. I will keep your screen open. Yes.
Sure.
So this is the repository, and everything is there. The entire code is in the repository itself, including the JavaScript frontend, the Ruby backend, and some full stack tests.
So it's all within this Rundfunk folder?
It's all in this folder, exactly. So now, right now, if you hit enter, you will install or you will download everything you need.
So I just did a git clone right there with that link. It looks like I got it. Yeah, oh, that's not it. CD.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's not a good name for non-German speakers. So the pronunciation is Rundfunk mitbestimmen. Think of the ST like SHT. I think in
HT.
Rundfunk mitbestimmen, as if you would have the.
Robert, I'll practice it later. I'm not even gonna try right now.
Don't worry.
Yeah, so okay, so I got that.
And I'm also I will check out the couldn't read me. Everything is still in sync with some changes. Seems so. Yeah, all you have to do is Oh yeah, and there in the README there are two ways or two options how to install it. So if you only want to install it and see it in action, then you can use the Docker installation. But since you probably want to run software tests and you're a developer and you want to change the source code, I recommend to install it locally on your actual machine.
Yeah. Okay.
And
right
yeah, all you need to have is Node, Ruby, and we are using Yarn. And maybe I should update the README. I find one possible mistake. So Ember recently dropped support for Bower. So the frontend is written in Ember.js, which is a frontend framework similar to React or Angular or Vue. And they had Bower as a dependency manager, and I think newer versions don't have it anymore. Anyhow.
Okay.
So you already have Yarn. That's awesome. And you have the new version of Postgres, which is great.
So I don't need to worry about Bower.
All you have to do right now is to so for example, install the backend dependencies with Bundler. Oh no, you don't have Ember so far. Then you should install Ember. Shall I give you a link?
Yeah, sure.
There you go. It's just Ember.js. And it's, if you use npm, for example, npm install -g ember -cli.
Yeah, I was going to use Yarn, I guess, since you're using Yarn, but
you can also use Yarn for installing the global dependencies, although I don't have the correct syntax in my mind right now.
It's Yarn add. Now, would you recommend, I mean, I'll just use this. Would you recommend it being globally? I believe you would, right?
Can you repeat that, please?
You would recommend the global installation, correct?
Yes, so you need some kind of global installation. You will have access to a command Ember, and that is your key to everything, to the entire Ember world.
Yes, I understand. I was just making sure that was clear with that -g that installs it globally.
Yeah. What is the Yarn equivalent for that?
Yarn add.
Yarn add, but Yarn add is locally, isn't it? Like project-wise.
Oh, yes.
I check it out.
Yeah, I need to look that up myself.
Add globally. How to install global packages with Yarn?
I think it might be -g.
You don't, apparently. No. Weird. I don't know. So Stack Overflow says there's no global install. Strange.
Well, maybe that's why they recommend npm install. Yeah. So it looks like good to go here. 3.0. Oh, already at 3.0.
Awesome. It's already 3.0. Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah. I haven't tried the new major upgrade, the new major update of Ember, but we'll see. I'm pretty sure it will be all right.
Yeah, what I do like about Ember is that they keep it stable and backwards compatible, and they make the major upgrades pretty easy.
That's something I really like about Ember. They don't, they never let you down. They're never gonna give you up. Well, yeah, so everything is pretty much backwards compatible, which is great.
Right. Yeah. So I am on
the Ruby is also very up to date. So then everything is there. So the next part would be to install, for example, the backend dependencies with brew. So somebody mentioned that we have a dependency that creates entity relationship diagrams for every migration.
Okay.
But has a certain dependency called GraphViz, and sometimes that can be a problem on apparently on OS 10 or Ubuntu. I think you have it.
Oh, you think I already have it installed?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And if you don't, we'll see. So I think you can just fast forward to the. I don't think GraphViz is a global command, but you can check.
No, doesn't look like it. So, would you recommend I just try this anyway?
Yeah, so the only thing that happens is if you run a migration, then you would hit an error if they don't have GraphViz, because that's something that happens after all the migrations pass, just trying to create an entity relationship diagram based on the current database. So totally unnecessary, and I was even about to drop this feature altogether because of dependencies. But somebody said, no, it's all right. It's very easy to install it. And he just updated the README.
So for someone else who's coming in, would you recommend they try this right now? Someone else that's setting up? If they're on a Mac, would you recommend they run this?
Well, it doesn't hurt, I guess. But your point is correct. Your point is right. So we could think about removing the README and only have a hint when you do the migrations, for example.
Okay, so maybe we'll skip it?
Yeah, we can skip it. Okay. And I should update the README. Maybe I can also get some notes. Update the README. Update the README. This is kind of optional.
So is this up to date, the bundle install? Should we do that next?
So now you can run bundle.
Okay.
In the root folder, it will, so just run it. Hit enter, it's all right. Nothing's going to happen. So you have the parent folder and you have the folder backend. As the name suggests, the entire application for the backend code is in the folder backend. The backend is written with Ruby. That's interesting. Okay, let me see if I can get the same error. So you have been at the parent folder and set bundle, and I don't see that error, that same error. What is your latest commit? Can you tell me what git log tells me, or tells you? Just git log. So yeah. That's the exact commit that I am on as well.
Okay.
Okay, just for a moment, can you check out the commit before the last commit? So that would be, for example, git checkout hat circumflex, or you can do it that way.
Okay, so we have update on, and we have this one.
So that one, exactly. This commit. You can take the hash. Do you know the hash of the commit? Yes. That would be one way. Just copy that and say git checkout and then the hash, for example. Which is fine. And can you run bundle again?
Yep.
So I believe that this error is indeed related to an update of one dependency called Capistrano DB tasks. This dependency is responsible in order to dump the production database into your development database, for example. And it's possible that they don't have certain things updated. But it seems it's installing the dependencies right now.
Yes.
So I was about to say that the parent folder contains a folder backend, which has all the backend code. And the parent folder also has a gem file. And it's because of that we have full stack tests, which is testing both front-end and backend simultaneously. And those tests are, for logical reasons, located at the parent folder, which has front-end and backend. And the full stack tests are implemented with Cucumber. They are implemented with Cucumber Ruby, to be precise. And Cucumber Ruby is the Ruby implementation. So we have dependencies for Cucumber and Capybara and so on in the parent folder. And it includes all the dependencies from the backend. So if you go to the backend folder, as soon as this is finished and say bundle install, nothing should be installed, actually, because you have everything there.
Oh, okay.
And the same thing happens later on with the front-end application. So for the front-end, we are using Yarn. You already have Yarn, which is great. And if you're really fancy, you could even open another terminal and install the front-end dependencies simultaneously. And in order to do that, you just change into the front-end folder and say Yarn install.
Or we could just do Yarn.
Maybe just Yarn. I think it's also, yeah, I'm not, yeah, it's default.
It's the same as bundle install, bundle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and everything you need. So the next goal after you install the dependencies is to start the application and just to see something. And if we finish that, and if we are successful with that, we are going to try to run some front-end and back-end tests. And when we're done with that, we can run full stack tests. And if we're done with that, we are done entirely.
Sounds good.
Because if those tests run, you can be pretty sure that everything is set up correctly. And these are the different steps, right? So install dependencies. And run the migrations, of course, yes. And if you want, you can create some C data. Exactly. And later on, you just the next step would be to start the backend and the front end. Both services need to be up and running in order to see something. So the front end will try to send requests to the backend.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay.
This is how it works.
Okay.
Does it make sense?
Oh, yes, it makes perfect sense. Yes, of course. Yeah, thanks for doing this, Robert. This hopefully will be, it's not only useful to me, but hopefully to other people.
At some earlier point, I was thinking about automating this. So what do you think about something like Foreman, which is starting up several services at once, and you only have one command?
So I've used it before. I think we might try it. Yeah, perhaps. It's not too many steps here. People are familiar with this. They might not be familiar with Foreman.
Yeah, that's the point. So I had it in the first place, and I thought maybe this makes it even more complex, this Foreman thing. And it's
Yeah.
only 2 services, so maybe it's not worth it.
Yeah, if it was maybe a few more, maybe. But it might be worth trying because it is. I don't know what's more intimidating to see, all these commands, or to see just a couple, or to see format which they might not be familiar with.
Yeah. And I found it sometimes hard to debug. So during development, it's great if you have a foreman, if, like, for example, maybe in production or whatever. Oh, that was 20 minutes. Oh no, we're over time.
Well, we gotta keep going, I guess.
Yeah.
I can't believe it's already 20 minutes.
Yeah, maybe I'll give us another more, because the dependencies take quite a while. What do you think? 10 minutes?
Yeah, let's try 10 minutes, yeah.
So I think the following problems can arise, or I heard it from people. Sometimes it's difficult to get the recent Postgres version. This application depends on Postgres. We are using certain database features. So that was a problem on outdated operating systems. Like, for example, I think the default Postgres version on Mac is not 9.6, but 9.2. And I believe it's the same on Ubuntu. And that can be sometimes a problem. So apart from that, sometimes people don't have Node.js installed, but that's usually normally not a big problem.
Yeah, so it's really Postgres that causes the most problems.
Yeah, I think so. Apart from that, not much.
Okay, looks like we're closer now.
Yeah, and things like everything that is related to some kind of binary, for example, graph viz. So installing the backend dependencies can sometimes lead to certain errors on some operating systems because they lack whatever. I think Nokogiri. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce it, but it's sometimes raising errors on some machines. And what else?
Okay, looks like we are set up.
Oh,
Yep.
are we? That's awesome. Now, then you could actually run the what? So many post-install messages. Then you can actually run the database migrations in the backend, which should be just in Rails, db create and db migrate.
Right, so I should cd in to the backend?
Exactly. So you should change the directory.
And this command, correct?
Yeah.
Well, actually, should I run both of those commands?
Say it again.
Should I run db create and db migrate?
Yes.
Okay.
So bin/Rails is a so-called bin stub. It runs application version of Rails. It's not doing much than bundle exec Rails plus some kind of caching. Interesting. Well, apparently it just still wants you to run bundle install, but that should be very fast. It should everything should be on your machine right now. Probably just checking the website and then blub, 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 all the dependencies are there. Oh no. It's still installing certain things for some reason. Sometimes the gem to gem files are out of sync. That can be the case. Yes. So, and then Rails 5 has all the rake tasks included in this command Rails. Oh, what's happening? Can you scroll up a little? Is your Postgres server actually running?
Yes, can create a
Interesting.
okay, so probably could not connect to server, no such file.
You are absolutely sure that the Postgres server is running in the background?
Yeah, it's just, it probably has to do with the passwords, correct?
Right, right, yeah. So we
So,
still have the default credentials. You can update what's going on now. Oh, code is your editor.
right,
What
I
kind
was
of editor are you
using
using?
Visual Studio is what
Visual
I use.
Studio.
Yeah.
I'm often asked what editor shall I use. So I'm using Vim, but I cannot suggest that to normal people. And I never know
Normal people.
what's the best graphical editor right now.
Yeah, I like Vim too. I use it a fair bit.
So what's before you change your username and password combination? Is it somehow confidential? Shall I turn off the screen?
Yeah, perhaps. I'm going into database.
Or can you hide participants? So before you change it, right? You have it in the environment. No,
Well, no,
that's
actually, I don't have it.
so.
That's
Shall
your
I
code.
click on hide participant before you change your password now?
I can just stop sharing the screen. What I
Or
should
like that? Yeah, I
what
think
I
that's
should do is create these variables. Is what I should do, right? Probably.
yeah, that's one way to do it. You can either create those variables, or you can just enter your username and password right there. This
So
is the
this
way
would
how the
be
production server is configured. The production server has the environment variables.
yeah. So I guess I could add it to my bash file also, right?
Of course, you can. You can do it right here, or you can add it to your bash file, whatever you wish.
Yeah. Do you have a recommended way to add it to those variables, environment variables? Would it just be in, or do you happen to know how to do that?
I don't have a recommended way, but I will definitely make a note. Suggest a proper way to set the username password.
Because I'm trying to think of what would be easiest for like someone that might be a little complicated.
Absolutely.
This might be the fastest way just to edit this directly, right, in the database
Exactly. So
file.
right now, this is the fastest way.
Yeah. So the database is, so I guess I need to set the password, right?
Say it again.
Well, I'm trying to think which one. It's probably trying to use my username password, right, Federico? I'm guessing that's what the message was saying.
Yeah, what the message kind of saying is the database connection with username
Yeah.
nil and password nil. So the default user
Oh,
is not there. So on my machine, I have a default user, which would be Postgres and no password. And
okay.
on other machines, you don't have that. And you can create another user, a dedicated user for that application if you wish. And this user must have privileges in order to create databases.
So I think the problem is that my Postgres user, well, I'm trying to recall. Okay, let me try a couple of things. Yeah, I'm just trying to think of the easiest thing to do, because if someone edits this right here, they don't want to do that because then they might push up their code.
Yeah.
Or is this in the git ignore?
I wouldn't worry too much about it because in any case, I would see it. They could review that. So.
Okay, yes. And yeah, so it's not in the git ignore, right? database DB. Yeah, so that would be pushed up. And actually it is, yes, because I received it.
So you're suggesting having a file with the credentials and storing the credentials. Ah, yeah, I see. You want me to create a database template?
No, not necessarily. I was just seeing if this file gets pushed up with commits, and so I was checking the git ignore to see if it was
So it is actually inside the repository. What we can do is to move this file to database YAML template or database.template YAML, and tell people to copy this file to the actual location database YAML, which would be ignored, and then change their credentials respectively.
Right, we could do that. You think that would be easier? And we're out of time.
Yeah, and it's 30 minutes already.
Yeah. You think that would be the easiest thing to tell people, like on Mac? Would that complicate things a little bit, or would it be
I think the Rails way is to have this template.
Yeah. Okay. So we might try that. So then in that case, then for future viewers, it would be a good idea to change this, since this won't go into commit. So you can change it directly.
Yeah, for now you can change it directly because you're not going to push anything.
Yeah.
And we'll do a pull request and create a template.
Okay. So that's what I'll do. I'll change it right now. So let me stop screen sharing and
yes, please.
And then make sure that I got this right. So it would be the Postgres user. And my password, which is password 123. You know if it has to be in quotes? I think not, actually.
I'm using a password manager for this. So I'm using KeePass, and it has by now, I think, 200 different username password combinations for different accounts of mine.
Wow.
And I can only remember, well, my master password, obviously, and I think 3 or 4 accounts of which I have the actual password. I don't even have something like Facebook in my mind. Last time I was on my way to Berlin to a birthday party, and they had a Facebook invitation, and I couldn't access it on my mobile because I don't have the password manager there. Anyhow.
Yeah. So I think we might have a problem that I don't recall my password. Also,
there we go.
Hang on one second. Let me say.
You can check it if you, for example, say on your terminal PSQL -u and your username, and I think it's -p for the password.
Oh, okay. So.
But actually, if you can enter PSQL and you are the root user, then you don't have. You have still the default root user and the default no password. So if you can just type in PSQL and a database name, and you are logged in, then that's the way. That's the situation for me, and that means you only have the default root user and no password. And
so I'm pretty sure I do have a password.
Okay.
And because I always add a password. And yeah, so I tried that and it's asking me for the password. I'm just trying a different combination real quickly, and then if that doesn't work, we'll try something else. Yeah. Sorry to cause this problem.
Something I cannot help with, unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay. I'm trying different combinations here.
Oh no. But in other applications, you don't have to use your Postgres user?
Okay, so I just figured out that it's trying Federico. Okay, so
I mean,
actually,
what you can do is just check out any application where you have any Rails application where you have a Postgres connection, and you should have a database YAML file with your credentials. It should be there.
yes, great idea. So, I will do that right now. Right after I try one more combination. Because I think I got it. I think I figured it out. I was trying Postgres, but I should use Federico.
That, by the way, triggered certain downtimes of the backend in production, the user permissions. So on the production server, we have a dedicated user and password, but it wasn't. There was no privilege for or no permission for something like creating sequences. So when Postgres is updating the ID, it needs a sequence, and it has extra permissions. And for some reason, the permission wasn't set. So when new users cannot sign in because they would need a new ID, which would be generated from that sequence, but other users can still log in, like me.
Right.
So I wasn't. I wasn't facing that issue. I wasn't aware of that because I had a user account which I was using on production, for example, and it took me a while until I figured out there's something wrong. Since 2 days, new users cannot sign up, and that because of that, I strongly recommend to have error reporting set up on both front end and back end.
Yeah.
It's actually a must. I couldn't believe I didn't had it after that incident.
Did you say a headache?
I didn't had it, so there was no error reporting.
Okay.
So I had the logs, but I could check the logs, and I finally found out what's the problem, and that there is a problem after all, because it looked like everything was fine, and on the build server there was no error, but the build server has a different configuration, and something like permission errors or permission problems are always a pain in the ass on production.
Yes, I agree. So while I was doing that, I'm sorry, while you were speaking, I did look up the local support database file in Rails, and that one I do have it with a password, by the way, which I know is wrong. I'm also going to look up my.
What?
I'm going to look up my. I'm going to open up my bash file real quickly because I think I have it in there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and if that doesn't work, I'll try a couple different um, projects. Sorry. So bash profile actually.
Well, but as I told you, usually it's the backend dependencies that can cause troubles.
Yes.
And so they do.
Okay, so I don't have it in bash profile or bash RC, and I don't have it in.
Usually you are using Postgres, do you?
Yes.
How can you connect from other applications to Postgres then? Other applications delete or create new databases as well, don't they?
Yeah. And ZSH RC, I don't have it in there.
I mean, what can be a problem is that since we're using certain Postgres features, so-called extensions, you need extra privileges, maybe. So the version 9.6, for example, has certain extensions. Even those older versions of Postgres have extensions, but we are using certain extensions that were available since 9.4, I think. And these extensions have a caching mechanism. So we can see when a person, for example, stopped supporting a broadcast. And that's important to have temporal visualizations. And in order to create the database, you will also have a migration which is installing those extensions. And I don't know, I couldn't see the log, but it could be the problem that other applications don't need those extensions and everything works just fine. But in our case, your default database user doesn't have enough permissions to do that.
Yeah, so sorry, I'm looking at an Elixir project where I do have it running correctly using Postgres. Okay, no, so that's you know, something that sometimes happens is having to add the word localhost. Have you ever had that problem?
Yeah, it sounds familiar to me. Yeah, you're right. Let me see.
The host
Let
name.
me see the configuration which is currently inside the backend config database YAML. So model cool. So there is no host specified in the database YAML file. Do you think this is a problem?
I've had it before, so I just added it right now.
That could be the problem. Yeah. I think Postgres is, for some strange reason, behaving differently on different operating systems. So on Mac, I think, so on Linux, I don't see anything if I don't specify the host name. It just assumes localhost. And it's possible that on Mac, the situation is different. The behavior is different.
Yeah, sometimes, many times I've had to do it where I have to have the host as a local host, and that takes care of it usually. But now, if I try that right now, I need to add the password correctly also. So I'm not sure if that's really the problem, unfortunately.
But if local support is working,
No, I haven't run it in a long time, so I'm not even sure.
do you have any other application that is where you have the credentials which are correct?
Well, I would think so. I thought I did, but okay, hang on.
Oh.
This is taking too long. I could also just change the password. Is another option, right?
Say it again.
I could also just change the password right now because it's.
I think you should get a different error message if the user password name combination is incorrect and if the server is not running. And as far as I can tell, the log message was the server is not running at all. So I think, or I assume that you are right with adding localhost to the configuration. And then you should at least get some error like insufficient privileges or insufficient permissions or username password combination is incorrect, something like that.
Yeah.
As far as I can tell, the log message was there's no server running.
Yeah, this is a problem because
If you're done with the configuration file, and if you're looking at the terminal, you can also share your screen again.
yeah, I was still trying different passwords. I should share my screen just because so people can see something. But yeah, let me just try one more real quickly.
You can also try it on the terminal. The same username password combination needs to or has to work with the command line interface PSQL.
Yes, you're right. Let me share my screen because otherwise. Okay, so yeah, I tried this one here. So I guess I could try that again.
Yeah, so database the development database doesn't exist. That's correct, but you can just enter any database.
Right. So
Local support, whatever. But don't show us your super credential password.
well, it's okay because this one's not up to date, and I had it without a password, which is incorrect. So
here you can see the database is ls_development, and you can say, for example, PSQL -u Postgres space ls_ stuff.
yeah.
I think you need a lowercase u. I'm not sure, but I think so. You can try out both. Okay, so apparently it's a capital U.
Let's see.
But you don't have a password. You just type in enter, and that's it.
No, see, I do.
Password's implied. Huh?
Well, it's because I do have a password.
If it has a password, then you should type it in.
Yeah.
And then
Well,
local support just doesn't work. If you type it in now, we won't see it because it's you don't see it on the terminal.
I understand it. I tried several combinations, and that's the problem. I don't know what it is. For Postgres. So let me try that.
The problem is we cannot use any other database. So if Postgres is not running, you will not be able to run the backend. At some point, we decided, okay, let's go for Postgres and use Postgres specific features.
So,
yeah, there we go. Okay. So this is correct now. So if you remember your password, you can turn off your screen again and quickly change the database YAML and turn on the screen back again.
So a couple things. Well, yeah, let me try that real quick. But I think I tried this and it didn't work. But let me try it real quickly.
In the meantime, maybe I can tell you what kind of how Chrono model is actually working, this thing that we are using the extension of. Chrono model is a gem, which I also contributed to. It has kind of young. It's where do we have it? Chrono model.
So by the way, Robert, I believe that worked, and I think.
Yeah, there we go.
I think it was the local host part that fixed it, because I tried it with that password, the Postgres password.
It's still crashing. Something. Can you scroll up a little? Maybe you can move the terminal window to the left side so we have the entire screen.
Yeah.
Is that possible? Yeah. So I'm using a tiling window manager. I would, for example, now split vertically in the middle or like that. Yeah. There we go. I'm unable to find graph with .executable. So that's not a problem. Everything worked just fine, except Graphis. And then now you can do what's in the README in order to install Graphis. That shouldn't be a big deal. And there you can also see the name of the executable. It's dot. Yeah. Do you think it's unnecessary? Do you think we should just remove it? Because it's just stopping people. It makes it, there's one more point that can fail. And it's not really necessary. I wasn't thinking about something like maybe we can just run it once on the production server or something, or optionally, like something like bundle install some kind of environment that also installs Graphis. Is that possible? Actually, it should be, right? Maybe you can. If I would, if I would have an environment for bundler, which is including everything, and except Graphis, and then a particular environment with Graphis, which is running on my machine, for example, and then I say bundle exec with that environment, database migrate. That should work, wouldn't it? Because then it's running. Yeah, I'll make a note. I think that's a good idea.
So while that's loading up, I'm going to stop sharing my screen for 1 second and double check my database file, because I think what fixed it. Yes. Okay. So So let me share my screen again. And so on a Mac, here we go. So that's obviously not my password. I just changed it. But this line right here is what did the trick.
Yeah.
Host localhost. Because I had tried Postgres with my password and it wasn't working.
I will note that too. So add host to database YAML. Interesting, because that doesn't hurt at all. If you just type in localhost, that should work on every machine. Weird.
Yeah. And yeah,
I like the emojis, the beer.
Yeah.
Glass.
That's German beer, right? That's got to be a German beer.
You cannot tell.
No.
The best beer isn't German at all. It's Czech.
Oh, I'm surprised to hear you say that.
Yeah.
Which brand?
So the brands which I like, which you can actually get here, is, for example, Stachopram and Pilsner Urquell.
Okay. You'll have to write those down for me so I can try them.
Yeah.
So the plan is after this, since that did take a long time, is to, let's see. Oh, the test, right? You think maybe we should save the test for another session?
We can.
Will the acceptance test take a while?
Yeah, probably they will. Yeah, I think we can put that to another time. Yeah, I think you're right. Although it's fairly simple. It's just running front end, but we can do it in another time. Yeah.
The other option is, now that we know what caused this, we could try it again. I could like switch versions of like Groovy or something with the RVM, and we could try the installation again a lot quicker this time, next time. Perhaps, if you like.
Yeah. And also, I mean, I have 6 nodes on my list, which I'm going to update now, because you kind of validated that README again. So, or you, how are you to say it? Not validate, but executed that README, and
right.
And there are some bugs.
Yeah, so a couple minor modifications, right?
And I think I should drop the entity relationship auto generator.
Yeah.
Yeah, for example, that this particular picture
Yes.
is automatically generated, exactly.
Right, that's what you were saying, yeah. I don't know, it is kind of useful to visualize, but if it does it with every migration, you say?
Yeah.
This is taking a little while.
I don't know why. Font cache shouldn't take so long. Regenerating font cache, this may take a while. Well, okay.
Yeah, so maybe if you update it, or maybe I can help you update it, and then we try it again.
I think that's a great idea.
Hopefully a lot, and we could do it a lot faster now that we know. And as long as we do it relatively soon, so we won't forget, you know, where we got stuck. Like maybe next week.
And maybe you can even run the I don't know if because the generation of that entity diagram is the very last step. So you have the database already set up. Maybe you can try in another terminal if you're able to start or to boot up the backend server.
The backend server. Yes. Okay. So
WinRails server.
okay. Yes. And let's see, that was the front end one, and this is a separate one. I'll just get out of there.
/Q.
And
You're in front end.
yep.
CD. Yeah, and backends. Seems to be all right.
Yep.
Nice. Okay. You can also, you could, for example, check out the Rails server, which is running right now, localhost 3000. Oh, deny?
Oh yeah, I always think of this.
I think that's the Rails server trying to accept HTTP connections. You can access it with your browser. It's showing, if it's running, it's showing you the default Rails page. HTTP, I would say, not TCP.
Yep, I just noticed that. I just did a straight copy. Yeah,
there we go.
looks good.
Yeah, you're in Rails, so that was the backend.
Yeah.
Nice. And you can also, oh, what's there? You have some error messages. Maybe it's the missing migrations. Scroll up. Oh no, it's favicon. Don't worry. The rest is okay, I think. All right. If you start the Ember server.
Yeah, let me just check this while that's still going.
It's still going. Yeah, but
Yeah.
the backend server is running. You don't need it. All you need to have is now the front end server, which is
This one.
Ember server inside the front end directory. It's the lower left terminal window of yours, not that one. Yeah.
So I'll just. So I'm actually already in there.
Oh, you're already in front end.
Yeah. And I believe Embrace would also work, correct? So, so I still need to do Bower install.
Yeah, we still have Bower.
Was that because we went back one git commit?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So you think I should run it? Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I think that's the latest 2. something version. I didn't notice that we have Ember 3 now. Oh.
Yeah, I think we're right on 3.00, so I think it just got released.
Yeah. Let me check. Ember 3.0, road to Ember 3. It was released 2 hours ago. No way.
Wow.
It was released 2 hours ago.
Wow. Okay, so now, yeah. So now try that again, and I'll try Embrace this time.
So Ember is now compiling and transpiling all those JavaScript files.
Right, okay.
Then it's also running a node server, which is updating and transpiling the files when you edit them. But in the end, if you would deploy it, it's just HTML and JavaScript.
Right.
You can, however, have a certain technique for server-side rendering, which is called Ember Fast Boot. And we are not there yet. So that would be above. You have the Ember server running on the remote server, and it's sending HTML and JavaScript precompiled to the client. And when the client has all the entire application downloaded, the Ember is yes. Allow? No?
Oh, I always do deny it. It works fine.
Okay.
It's the firewall.
Okay. And yeah, so I think that technique is called isomorphic code that runs on the server and on the client.
Right.
Ember has it as well. React has it, and I'm pretty sure all the other applications have it also.
Yeah, they all pretty much do have it by now. So that it loads something immediately.
Exactly, which is also important for crawlers, for example. So if you want to optimize your page for search engines, you should have this. If you have old browsers or browsers who don't support JavaScript, then you should have that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it takes always a while because when you, for example, request the page, it takes a couple of seconds before, depending on your bandwidth, how fast you can get the application downloaded.
Right, all the compiled code, the JavaScript.
All the compiled code is quite big, unfortunately. So Ember is infamous for being quite large Ember applications.
Yes, the framework, right, and the actual compiled code. By the way, this finally finished.
Fair enough.
Yeah, okay, and so we do have the raw server still running, and yes, I guess we're waiting for this.
Yeah. It should be ready in a minute. You can already open your browser if you want and open localhost port 4200.
Right, so
4200. So no, that was for 42,000. I don't know if we have such high port numbers actually. Yeah. I mean, it should be in the range. What is 2 to the power of 32? Is it? I'm not quite sure.
I'm not gonna do that math in my head. So I think it set it up here. Well, it is taking a while.
Yeah, it's it takes a while. The first time it's transpiling the code. It will tell you in the terminal, I'm listening on localhost 4200 when it's ready. Yeah, and do you have an SSD drive, or do you have an ordinary hard drive?
So I think it's, I'm not even sure.
So I have both, and on the serial disk, it takes, of course, it takes longer than on the SSD. Ember is creating a lot of transpiled files when you boot it up.
For some reason, it went back to this.
There we go.
And I'm using Google Chrome Canary.
Yeah.
And so I got it set up like this. I think I can, well, at least we'll see what it looks like.
Yeah, now it's issuing a request to the backend. It's still loading. Can you check the networks tab in Chrome? Oh, it's done. So for some reason, it took quite a while until the request was processed. If you hit refresh now, it should be much faster, of course. Yeah, but this is set up and running.
All right. And I guess I could switch this to, yeah, well, I guess maybe iPad Pro.
Yeah, awesome. There we go. Finally.
Finally. Yeah, so I guess we could stop right there. Or actually, what do you want to do, Robert?
Yeah, sorry for being so initially we thought, okay, it should be finished in 20 minutes, and now it's 1 hour and 20 minutes. So that's 80 instead of 20 minutes. Well, next time we're going to be more on time.
Yeah, but we have this recording in case anyone really feels like watching, wasting some time. They're welcome to. But I really appreciate it, Robert. Anything else we should try, or?
All that is left would be the tests, but I would do that another time.
Yeah, so I might just try them off recording, get them running.
You're very welcome to do so. It's very easy.
And if I get any errors, I'll report them back to you.
That's awesome. And I'm very, very happy, and I appreciate that we executed this README. And every time I see errors in the README or errors in the installation process, and there's potential to improve. I have, I think, 6 points that I'm going to improve on. So that's very helpful.
And if you want to share like half of those with me that I could improve in the documentation just to get a quick PR up to get things going.
Yeah, why not? I will open the issues. I will open some issues based on the notes and explain what should be changed. And
that'd be great, Robert. So I could just start contributing a little bit.
Yeah,
a very minor thing.
If I open up an issue which I think is a good starter issue, I can mention you in the comment, for example.
Yeah, my name is Federico Esparza on GitHub.
You have the is Federico your actual first name?
Yes.
And you are Federico on GitHub?
Federico Esparza.
Federico Esparza. Because I was thinking like Federico is quite a common name. You would be very lucky to be the first one on GitHub with that name.
No, only Federico Esparza was unique enough. I think I maybe tried Federico, but no.
My first and last name combination is not even unique enough.
It's not?
No. No, if you type in my name, Robert Schäfer, into Google, you will find out that I'm the trainer of a football a team in Germany, and I think I'm also a bank manager, and I'm doing a lot of things under that
Yeah,
name.
well, your name is doing a lot of things.
Mhm.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, if you want to just do that, I think that sounds like a plan. And did this finish up? This, yeah, build successful. Yeah, that finished. So I think everything that we had running was finished, and I'll run those tests. If I do get any errors, I'll report them back to you, and then maybe we can record again next week, perhaps, after we get the documentation updated.
Yes, great
Okay.
idea.
Okay. Well, thank you, Robert.
Thank you as well.
I'll talk to you on Slack.
Awesome. And I will send also the link to the recording
Yes.
of that event. Awesome.
Okay.
Well then, it was a pleasure.
Yes, likewise. Thank you, Robert.
You're welcome.